Welcome, welcome. For real now. Welcome, welcome. You are tuned into Mo Money Mondays. Thank you so much for joining us. We're brought to you by All About Us Media. I am your host, Vanda Jamison of the Legacy Jamison Group. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook at Jamison Legacy Group. And be sure to get all the notifications in real time as they drop. Please follow us here at All About Us Media. Just hit that little subscribe button down below and join us. Thanks again for joining. Here on Mo Money Mondays, I am a financial strategist. Yeah, I think that's a good word. Strategist, right? I'm also an insurance broker, generational wealth builder. I like that one. And my passion lies in helping people like you, people like me, ordinary people, create generational wealth. And how do we do that? Information, financial literacy. And so here we gather every Monday to speak with other experts that can really help to shed some light because I am committed to helping your money make sense. So let's get into it. Tonight I have, oh, you've met him before. He's friend. He's fun friend though, and he hasn't been with us for a little while. I've missed him terribly. Give me 1 second and let me make sure that I'm clued in. So tonight we're going to speak with Andre. Andre's in the green room. He's waiting to join us, and he is digital marketing. Actually, what he does is he helps small organizations, small businesses like myself, which is how I met him, and make sense of the complicated world of web copywriting, right? He offers consultative services that help make sure small businesses like me get the tools that we need to capture the leads that we want. How about that? Anyway, we vibe really well. I've been trying to talk him into becoming my co-host. But whenever I can snag him, I'm really excited. So today I was able to snag him, and I'm going to let him tell you the rest because he's been doing great things. And honestly, we haven't talked. So I am bringing you into the room where we are going to touch base for the first time in months and just see what's up. So I'm really excited. Andre, come on through. Oh, hey.
What up?
Well, I'm so excited. How you been? What you been up to? It's been a minute.
Doing really well. Super excited about life and just every day that the good Lord has given me. Where do you want me to begin? Is the real question. Like since we talked so
A
much,
couple of things. I'm kind of like I got a couple of things I want you to go through. Yeah, you're doing really well. I have been following you. I love the newsletter. I love the information that you're putting out. I want to really give you kudos because, it's not easy to stay current, even when it's your business. It's like kind of like the plumber, right? Whose sink is leaking? The woman who's married to the plumber, right? So I just want to really commend you for like really being current with all of your information that you're putting out there. I follow your blog and I'm like really impressed. I'm like September 12th, really? September 15th, really? Like, for me, I haven't been on social media in 2 weeks. So it's challenging and it's encouraging to see that even in, for yourself, so often I've met folks in their respective industry, we do it for everyone else. It's we don't always do it for ourselves. So I wanted to start there and just kind of say, yo, I see you. It looks good. And then, so wait, let me just clue y'all in. So we had a brief conversation. That was how I got him. Finally, he returned the call. I think he returned the call from a message I left 3 months ago, 2 months ago.
1 month.
A long time ago. That's okay. I wasn't sweating. And I was like, I just get excited. I'm like, oh, okay, you finally got to me. Thank you so much. And then I learned about his wife, the doctor. And so then he became very intriguing to me. You were already very intriguing, but I have to say, like, so I want to bring her up because I understand that you guys have been um what is it? Connecting, combining forces to create
Absolutely.
empire. So that is one of the places that I would like to cover. But please come on through. I'm going to mic down and tell us what you've been up to. What's the expansion look like? How's it feeling? How's it been?
Yeah, it's really been great. I honestly give pause and think about like what we've all kind of been going through and are coming through and coming out of, which is the pandemic, right?
Mm.
You know, the thing that really transformed the entire world essentially forever. But by the grace of God, during that downtime, I didn't see it as an opportunity to like chill out or, you know, to get lazy, I guess you could say, for lack of better words. But I seen it as an opportunity to really um, seize the moment or opportunity to learn and to grow and to develop myself. And so that's what I've really been focused on. Not only myself, but of course, my wife and things of that nature. So, like this last several months has been this journey of really leveling up as far as like my skills and things of that nature. And so that's kind of been the journey. And I guess we can maybe get into that a little bit later. But as in terms of like my wife, we're newlyweds still. I would consider it. We haven't even been married a year yet.
Oh,
So that's
really? Oh,
still very
I didn't
fresh.
know this because I think I've known you pretty much about that means you were probably getting married when I met you.
Yeah, in February of this year. Yeah,
Ooh, you
yeah.
sure keep things quiet. Okay, congratulations.
Yeah. I'm a
Congratulations.
Virgo, so I think by
Congratulations.
nature, right, we just keep things to ourselves.
I
But
had no idea. Okay,
yeah,
I'm super
coincidentally, my wife is a Virgo. She just had a birthday on Wednesday,
happy
and then
birthday,
my
y'all.
birthday is on the 22nd. Yeah, so what's better than one Virgo?
Two. I have one in my family. My brother's a Virgo. I know all about y'all.
Yeah, and so everybody I talk to, they're like, both of y'all are Virgos. Like, how does that work? Like, I don't understand.
Ambitious.
Yeah,
Very
but we
ambitious.
definitely work it out. Yeah. So as far as what we're working on together is, it makes me think of like fintech. So my wife is very strong in the financial space, like you are,
Yeah.
and she's been doing that for quite some time. And then of course, my interest and background is in technology, and so finance and technology, fintech, right? So just really working to bring those things together to serve the people that need it the most. Which I like to think are like startups, smaller, medium-sized organizations, and things of that nature. And so, really making an impact in people's lives to do it again, like you had mentioned, like it's about building right legacy wealth and generational wealth, and preparing people to change their narrative. And, and break, I almost want to say like generational curses, right? It's like, generation after generation, a lot of times families struggle. But, I believe that we are the people that are here to be the change that we want to see in the world. And so for those people who are willing, we will make a good fit together. If you're a person that says, hey, I'm tired of things how they were, I don't want to say it's not okay, I want better. We definitely want to partner with you to help build your wealth and your success overall.
I love it. I had a gentleman on last week that I met on LinkedIn, and he talked to us, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago, about the fintech industry and how it was blowing up, and millennials in the industry, and starting at six figures and what they're doing. So it sounds complicated, but he really broke it down. And so how do you guys bring it together for the client? What has that been looking like lately? Like, have you
So
had to
for
go in
the
and kind of like structure a package, or how did you determine what it was you were going to offer between the two of you?
Yeah, so right, I guess full transparency, like nothing that typically is being done is really new, right, per se, right? There's a lot of money managers, consultants, stuff like that. And so, you have that. Where I think what makes us unique or different is that we kind of take like that tailored or that custom approach to the clients that we serve. So not just like using like, a one size fits all approach, but actually finding where you are, what your specific needs are, and then building a custom strategy around that, whether it be for your wealth, right, your online presence, or whatever it is, to help an organization be successful. So I think that's a unique piece. And I think the other piece is that, we have teeth, you know what I mean? So, like, we're willing to dig in a little bit deeper, and really get to, what it is that needs to be addressed. Where some, at least in my experience, I haven't found that. And a lot of times, again, it's just like, okay, it's whatever, sign up, pay for the service, or, go about your business. But how many times are people actually stopping to kind of dig in a little bit deeper to make sure that you get exactly what you need out of the situation? So I think those are two unique characteristics that make us distinguish, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense to me because the industry that I'm in. So, when you are speaking to people about um, their money, which is very near and dear and very personal, you do have to kind of dig in. It's important to know, what are their dreams, what's the vision, what's the plan. And so I would imagine that, from the technology or the marketing part of it, you really have to understand people. How is that changing? Has that changed your creativity? Has it deepened your creativity? Have you been affected in that sense with the depth that you have to reach to, now that you may be looking into spaces and hallways that might not have been necessary before with clients until this merger? Does that make sense? Has it
It
made a difference?
I think I feel like you asked me like three questions in
Ah,
one.
maybe.
I feel like you
I'm
dropped a
sorry.
combo on me.
Sorry.
I'm like,
I'm
it's a,
sorry.
a
I'm
lot
so
to unpack.
I was figuring it out. Y'all, we're not scripted here. I didn't do a script. I snagged him and I'm like, let's go into the studio. Let's do this. So forgive me. Has it okay. So do you notice a shift in your own creativity based on the depth of intimacy that you have into your client now, because there's a financial piece added and they're speaking about their money maybe from that perspective?
All right. So I'm gonna answer that maybe a few ways. So just
Okay,
bear with me.
great. Bring it.
So the first thing I think of when you ask that question is that anytime you bring finances into an equation, to me, you bring truth and undeniable truth into equation. So a lot of people could say, "Hey, I'm amazing and I'm a superstar," or what have you. But I can look at your bank account, right? Or I can look at your
Exactly.
numbers,
And
and it's a tell all. You know what I'm saying? So that really, it's humbling. It puts it where it's at. So uh, one thing I think about finances is that it's a typically, not, I guess that's not absolute, but typically a test of truth. Where are you? Like, let's do a snapshot. What is your circumstance? What are your assets, your liabilities, right? And so obviously that piece is super important when it comes to dealing with every other area of your life, right? Because we're a capitalist country and society, and money kind of matters, right? It generally makes the world go round. So it's good to know your financial situation because it tells you or helps you define kind of what your options are in a very practical sense.
yeah.
So that's one part of the answer. The other part, where you're maybe talking about like the creative part and maybe how that's changed, you make me think about a certification I'm getting ready to take, which is called the Citizen Developer training program by
Mm.
established PMI Institute. And so, what this program is training on is for where we're transitioning at right now, which is going from like this very techie code based technology world into this post non code or low code uh, type of a world. And so, to me, from a creative standpoint in dealing with clients, I've noticed a fundamental shift there
Mm,
with the invention of things like Canva. So I do photography, videography, design, graphic, logo, what have you. So uh, up until this point, the predominant leading entity has like been Adobe, right? Their suite of services, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, all these things. Well, enter Canva. So Canva.com, for those who don't know it, it's kind of like Adobe. It's a design studio. But what they did is they made what could be very complex, as you'll find in Adobe's software. And they made it very frictionless and easy to use and to navigate. And so now you have people that are not designers, right? That have no clue how to do this stuff now doing it. Now they're
yeah,
be able to bring their creative ideas and juices and stuff, into the creative space. And so there I see a fundamental shift. And one of the reasons I'm pursuing artificial intelligence is because I'm seeing AI begin to penetrate of our marketplaces and spaces to make stuff that was maybe challenging or complex or difficult or took a lot of, you needed a coder, like, right, like a hacker to do. And it's got given the common folks the ability to do things. So that obviously changes creativity, right? It
yes,
changes the way we all operate because now,
yes,
like Vanda, like even if you're not a designer or artist, if you have creativity, like we all have some level of creativity, if you can input this stuff
yeah,
into a tool that can translate it in seconds and you can get, the outputs that you're looking for, wow. Like what does that do for like the
yeah.
content that
And
you
then and put your name on it.
exactly. It's unique. It's yours. And so those are some like fundamental trends I'm seeing from like more like the technology space that are changing the way that we do things, I think, forever. And I can probably go on and on. So, but maybe that's a good point to pause.
Well, I saw that you are talking about the metaverse and bringing people into that whole creative space. Talk to me about that. Yeah, NFTs I saw. I'm like, so what are you doing with, tell me about what's going on there because it definitely seems like there's been a little bit of a shift in your marketing genre. How about that?
Absolutely. So when it comes to like NFTs and metaverse, my goal or intention is not to confuse anybody because like I don't want to come across like, oh, we just do everything in the world, because we do not. We have a very specific purpose of, again, helping like the startup or the small organization thrive online and just be successful and build that legacy wealth. But in terms of organization, I would classify us as a learning organization by definition. And so, again, what is the only thing that's constant is change, right? And so there's the market reality, like everything that we're interacting with is continually like that needle is moving forward. And so metaverse NFTs is just kind of a part of that natural evolution as a society that we're transitioning to. It still may be, a decade off or what have you. But it was important for us as creatives in the space that we play in that we at least have a fundamental understanding of this technology, what it is, what it represents, and how it can make a impact on our lives. And so that's kind of what the exploration was. Uh,
Okay.
Notwithstanding that it's essentially the big part of NFTs and this type of thing, I think, is like blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is like a phenomenal technology that has so many practical purposes that we probably
Yes.
haven't even thought
Right.
of them all, right?
Aside from crypto, like so much
Aside
more
from
you could go
crypto, exactly. Aside from
with this
NFT,
tech.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's basically creating like these digital immutable contracts on a public chain or a ledger, um, which to me transforms again the way we as a society do business. I always think of real estate with this. I've heard like these horror stories, like where there was this house and there was a title for the home, and the title is at the title company, right? Because they hold your titles, and it got
I just
lost.
learned what a
It
title
wasn't
company
much.
is.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
yeah, they
They
keep your
don't have,
title, right. They do transaction, right, for home
yeah, I
ownership,
didn't
right?
know what that was. They don't have those. I'm from New York and you don't see title companies
Oh,
in
not as much. Okay.
different. No, they're not brick and mortar places like that. But
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, titles help, the transfer of like assets and stuff.
yes, they do.
It's a way of recording, right? Ledger and records.
Absolutely.
Well, sometimes what if the record got lost or burned up in a fire? Like they would like just store these in cabinets and stuff. And so I think of like blockchain for that. I'm like, now you can put it on a public ledger that's not, isolated to any one location. It's in the world, right? In the internet. um,
Forever.
forever, right? Essentially, and it's recorded and logged that hey, Vanda bought this property from Andre. Andre bought it from and so
Right.
on and so forth, and it keeps a trail. And that's what's beautiful about NFTs and stuff is because now it makes me think of Napster. You remember Napster? I might be throwing some age
Yes.
out here,
No.
but
No.
before we had tapes and 8 tracks and CDs, and then there came digital music. And at the convergence of digital music, these hackers basically made a way to share music out for free, right? Through this software called Napster. It was an exchange
Mhm,
program to exchange
mhm.
music. So this was one of the earliest signs where you seen where I didn't have to get a record deal, go to a record company
Right.
to get my music published. And
Right.
that's what NFTs does. It takes your works and be able to you can take it directly to the consumer under like a legible
It's kind
contract.
of like creative decentralization, huh? Of
Exactly.
creativity.
It's quite fascinating, yeah, what it represents. So it'd be interesting to see how it unfolds.
But there is a creative side to this whole NFT development too, where, illustration and color and graphics are a part of this whole new technology. And I've been, learning a little bit about that from folks in that, I went to RISD. So I've have colleagues that are artists, and they're really getting into, they're designing NFTs, and I'm kind of like, what? And it's fascinating. It's
It really
fascinating.
is.
I remember when industrial design was all new, and it was like, oh, I wish that was around when I was in college. And so now, can you imagine? We're gonna have course levels that are actually going to be teaching this in universities. That's going to be remarkable.
Absolutely.
That's
Yep.
what's
And
coming.
I've taken some courses. You can find them online right now, like a Udemy or Coursera. I took some on LinkedIn Learning
I've learned
platform as
about
well. Yeah,
Coursera.
if you want to get your feet wet. Yeah.
Okay, fascinating, fascinating. Yeah, I am. I too am going for the certification thing. I'm. I decided, do I go back to school or do I just? No, I think certification is the way to go. It's very different than it used to be, though. It's so interesting. You mentioned that I'm a lifetime student as well. As old as I am, I'm a lifetime student, and I plan to be for the duration, for as long as I'm here. And I figure I got at least another good 40, 50 years in me. At 60 years old, I'm shooting for 118. Okay.
Awesome.
Let
Love it.
that be
I love
documented, y'all.
it.
Okay. So when I
Absolutely.
get there, you can go back to this Facebook Live or this YouTube and
There you go.
say, she declared that. Um, but yeah, so it's really interesting what is developing out there. And I'm like, it's going to look so different. How do you see yourself keeping up with the trend? So do you envision, hiring millennials as you expand as a business, bringing in the young folks, keeping up with the trends yourself? Are you bringing in young folks to help
Yeah,
educate?
that's a great question. Yeah, so I want to think that I'm always in a position to educate and then to inform and to empower. I do some like nonprofit initiatives, which is like always just a part of my DNA. And to me, that I consider that as like paying my tithes, so to speak. It's like a way for me to give back to society. So I do that already. I train and work with interns, people that are
Nice.
trying to get in. Right. So I've been doing that for quite some time now, and I definitely plan to continue that and expand on that. In terms of like employees, yes, I definitely believe that that's in order. It will come in its due season,
And they
hire,
need
recruit staff.
us.
Yeah, for sure.
They
But I
really do
think
need
there's
us.
also creative ways to do it too. Um, I'm not like a traditionalist, like like in terms of that. I'm like some people that might like run their own business or freelance. See, like, so I've done a lot of that where I like, okay, I'll hire you to work on this project with me, to, because a lot of my work is projectized. And so, I find that. But if it warranted, putting somebody on payroll and doing that process, absolutely for that as well. But in general, I'm an advocate for entrepreneurism, for you, being in control of your own destiny and running your own business. So I lean towards freelancers, entrepreneurs, independent contractors, because I just believe that's the way
Yes,
to go. I think you'll be
absolutely.
way better off of being your own boss or being in control versus you working for me and me basically being a dictator, right? And just say, do this, do that. I don't really subscribe to that type of work environment, especially where I'm at with my career. What is the definition of it is called agile. It's an
Mhm.
agile methodology, if you're not familiar with that term. But in the agile methodology, it says there's no like I in team, right? It's like, you get a bunch of talented, skilled, wonderful, amazing, brilliant individuals like yourself, Vanda. And I pull people together that are talented, and we come together for a common goal, purpose. And then we work to accomplish that as a group or as a team. Not me being on a pedestal or a high horse, but more lowering myself and being a servant leader and seeing any way I can aid or assist the people that I collaborate with, so we can accomplish what it is we set out to accomplish. So I think right there, in just the way I operate, function, and work is a fundamental maybe shift in your traditional 9 to 5 environment. But I don't think I'm crazy, Vonda. I thought about this years ago when I was like starting off, but I see the trends with the pandemic that brought about these type of shifts in mentality, right? You see people that are like, I want to work from home, right? I don't want to go back. I want to run my own business. I deserve to get paid more. There's more demands for, like, especially with our new generation too. They're like, no, I need this, that, and the other. I want to bring my dog to work. I don't know. It's like all
Yes,
these
yes,
other additional
all of
things.
that.
Like,
Mhm.
it's a part of, and so I'm
Absolutely.
more into that vein, with where I'm
Well,
at as
that's
far
good.
as business owner.
That's how I got here. That's the only way I worked. I have to say, it's so funny because part of the project, community project that I did as a young person in my 20s was because I didn't want to work for anybody. I didn't have the language for it though, but I knew how it felt. And I knew that that just wasn't for me. So I've always been gigging, like just I've been set designers, art director, for just theater, yeah, everything. At catering gigs, which is really popular because everything's a gig. So I do come from that gig life, so I get it. And when you talk about hiring people, and like, you know, yeah, I absolutely think that it is our duty and responsibility to support entrepreneurship in the younger generations.
Absolutely. And I think that's the
Technology,
fabric of our society. If you really think
it is
about it,
now. Yes,
that's what's
I
sustaining
think
and
I
keeping
think
us
we were
is.
weaving it though before. I know I
Well,
was.
I mean, I think it's
Yeah,
always been like,
it's always
I
been.
I don't look at like your Googles and your Apples, but I have mad respect for them, Amazon, whoever. I look
Yeah,
at the mom and pop shop. I look
yeah.
at the place down the thing that's been there for 50, 100 years,
Which is
right?
where I come
Passed
from.
down. Exactly, the
Yeah,
lineage. That's the fabric of our society.
my
It's these little shops and businesses,
absolutely.
small business owners that make our country and,
Yeah.
like our
I
world.
had a mom that like worked for the city and she was all and I knew that I was like, whatever that is right there, I am never doing that. So I was kind of a rebel. Maybe that's what got me here. But no, especially in our community and and when I say that, let me be really clear, y'all. I'm talking about the black and brown community.
Yeah.
That's what I grew up with. Was family business starting from the bottom and how we gonna do it, and we bring in everybody, and we gonna get help, and we're gonna be out there, and we're working together, and who's running the store, and that's how it was where I grew up. So that's
Yeah, I'm
interesting.
happy you said that, specifically right in the black and brown community, because like, and previous careers in the traditional setting, right, 9 to 5 or whatever, salary
Mhm.
work, and then you got to realize a lot of those systems aren't designed for you to elevate, right? Let's just be honest. It's
Yes.
designed for you to be like another, like, spoke on the wheel or whatever, to help. somebody else accomplish their goals. And then just from a statistical standpoint, like there's like typically only one executive director or chief financial officer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those positions are very limited. So one of the ways, if you want to break the mold, so to speak, or walk away from, like, I call it the glass ceiling, right? It's like, hey, I can only get so high in this
Right.
situation, is to open up, right, your own business. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy or anything like that, right? It's like a bunch of hard work, and you have to, be sharp. But the reward, high risk, but the high reward at the end is priceless, I think. And it just teaches you so much about being strong and independent, and your work ethic and stuff like that.
And
Um,
patient.
you know, that it just
Patient.
develop your character, right, and you as a person, um, that you can't buy. You can't buy that.
Absolutely. Let's talk about that. The personal development piece. Um, and I think that's where, when I was a young person wanting to do business, trying to do business, but still working for someone, uh, when you're working for someone, the personal development looks different because you don't really have that much responsibility on your shoulders, right? It's somebody else's business. All you've got to do is show up, do your stuff, leave at the end of the day. But when I started business on my own, and I've been everything from, let me just say, from like, catering to literally vending, selling t-shirts on the street. Like business is business, but there's still an organization that has to happen. Yes, I was one of those vendors in Harlem, okay, in front of the
Yeah.
Apollo. I
No,
was
you
a
got that hustler
designer.
in the
I was
heart right
a
there.
true hustler, honey. I was going to design my own Harlem t-shirts, and I did 7 years running. Loved it. But there is no comparison to the personal development that happens when you are doing your own hustle, starting your own business, being your own creative, learning to run your own store, compared to working for someone, even as an
Yep.
executive. And the thing is that I think that you do the personal development when you are working for someone else. It just takes a very long time because, like you said, they're really
And you
not
got to
invested
be really
in your
disciplined, I
time.
think. Because,
Yeah.
like, what incentive do you have to do as much, especially if you're in a comfy position or something like that? You might
Well,
not
you'll
be
learn it though.
motivated.
I
You're right.
wasn't
You got to be the type of person that's like that. That's like, I
I
want to
wasn't
learn more, become more, right? I want to elevate.
yeah.
It's typically
Well, you
those
have
people,
to.
yeah, that are striving to go higher,
I
that
feel like
make good
it goes
entrepreneurs.
hand in hand. It's one of the things that I teach in my industry is that the personal development is going to come whether you like it or not. You know what I mean? Because you've got to be a student, you've got to be coachable, you've got to learn the discipline, or else you won't make the money. You won't be successful if you don't learn how to be disciplined. So it really is, there's a balance, and you may not know it, but once you develop a system, it's inevitable, which is the beauty of being your own being your own boss, being an entrepreneur, being that hustler. Okay, you've got to give me a second because we have got to take a commercial, y'all. In case you've forgotten, you're tuned into Mo Money Mondays, and we are here with Andre Taylor of Taylor Made Global. Just talking about business and what he's been up to and what's going on. We're going to be right back. Let's go to commercial. I think that perhaps we should plug our sponsors, right? All About Us Media, All About Us Radio. Let's hear from them for just a sec.
You're listening to All About Us Radio. We're live streaming 24/7, playing old school versus new school. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AAU Media, and visit our website www.aaumedia.com. Call us at 1-833-369-1444, extension 1, and leave us an inspirational message or request. You're listening to All About Us Radio. You're listening.
Okay, and we're back. How is that? You guys, I'm running my own board, okay, in here in the studio with Andre Taylor of Taylor Made. How is
Hey,
that? A couple of glitches, but I'm getting better. I'm
you're
getting
doing
better. I
great. You're
really
doing
am. I'm
great.
getting better. Thank you so much. I'm so excited that you're here. I really, really am. We always vibe really nicely. So you're in the DC area.
Yes,
Tell me about what that looks like. You know, we briefly talked about my headquarters office is in the National Harbor Arena in Maryland at National Harbor. And it's a new office. In fact, our expansion was so great that we just moved to our larger office. And, you know, DC is very competitive. The Maryland, DC, Virginia area is it's just blowing up right now. And I know that one of the things that I won't say jealous, but I kind of envy is the clientele out of that area. There's so many government officials and giggers, right? What do you call independent contractors that come out of that arena? And so while I know that you're global, do you realize the abundance that you are in being in this area?
absolutely. I honestly like, just to be totally transparent, like DC was never on my radar. So like, if you
Mhm.
asked me years ago, like, hey, DC, last thing that I ever thought of.
Okay.
I didn't know what I didn't know. I'm like, I like a nice beach, like sand and water. Just put me in the Caribbeans, like just
Oh,
where my mind is.
oh. See, this
And
is a good question. How did you get to DC then? Okay, do tell.
after working for about 10 years in real estate, I decided it's time for me to step out and start my own thing.
Mhm.
It's just overdue. And so, as fate would have it, my best friend was actually getting an opportunity to get another job. And so I did digital work, and so I could work anywhere in the world. So I'm like, I think I'm gonna take a little time off to travel or what have you. And so he gave me an invitation. Hey, why don't you come out to DC? There's a lot of good things happening. So I'm like, yeah, I might, step out for, a couple months or, see what happens. And I can work from there. Well, a couple months turned to like a few years, you know.
Okay.
And then now I eventually landed in Baltimore, which is still, in proximity to
Mhm,
DMV,
mhm, mhm.
DC, Maryland, Virginia, for those who don't
Right.
know.
They're all
And
together. They are.
yeah, so what I realized in being there is like the growth and the energy and everything else was like unbelievable. It's like nothing I ever experienced. I'm like, never have I been to a city where every direction you have cranes in the sky. I'm like literally coming into like maybe 20 cranes in visible proximity in every direction. Like you crane, 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 every building, every neighborhood. And like I would hear the stories like, oh, this used to be Chocolate City. You know what I mean? This was the hood over here, and like
Yeah.
everything is like being terraformed, right? Like all new buildings, brand new. Even the place that we went into is like first tenants ever in that building. And so that to me like kind of blew my mind. I'm like, oh my goodness, so much prosperity, so much growth, so much wealth manifesting. And this is like over the pandemic, so
And
like over
color.
the recessions,
And color. It is saturated with people of color that
Yes,
are professionals, that are economically stable and solid and sound. That
yes,
is impressive.
unbelievable. And for me, I'm coming from a predominantly lighter skin tone area. Yeah, it's like a culture shock almost. Like I'm going like where I come from. You go to Starbucks, McDonald's, whatever. It's like all the same color, and it's not people black and brown.
Right. And
Then to
I'm the
come
only
out right
one.
to DC,
Mhm.
right? It's the gosh, it's the total opposite. Like it's like but I love it. I'm like, this is like
Yeah.
amazing. Like the rest of the world needs to experience this or see this. Is my opinion. But you're
And there's
right.
wealth. There's wealth there.
There's so much
It
wealth. Yeah,
smells like money. Like you
it
there's
does.
yeah.
And it's an international community, right? It's an international hub, right? Then you got all the government, right? All the layers and things like that. But truly, truly a lot of stuff happening in this area. I even get calls from people all over the country. They're like, oh, like you're in DMV? Like, hey, we need to do some visit, like I need to come down there and visit.
Right.
Because people do see that, that have it figured out as well across the board. But going back to what you're saying, Vanda, National Harbor area, because there's like all these different like pockets. What I think about National Harbor area is I think Black excellence. I don't know if everybody
Mm.
agrees with that, but every time I go there, I just think Black excellence because it's kind of like it makes me think of Black Wall Street. Like, is it Tulsa, Oklahoma? It was like where it's just all this Black excellence and prosperity. They're running businesses and clothing shops and restaurants, and it's just all this kind of stuff. And it's just the homes out there that they're building all new neighborhoods in the back. And these homes are what starting at like 700,000, kind of like, and it's just amazing. The energy, the vibe. I heard it's an old Indian reservation, that land out there. So it's just you can just feel it, you know.
I'm learning more. I'm learning. Um, I'm actually working on a huge project right now for my brokerage. We're doing a mastermind summit. Okay, y'all be there October 29th at National Harbor. And
Mm.
yeah, so it's just you've used the those words that you use, Black excellence and wealth. And I'm like, so I am really just learning about the DMV area. I'm licensed in that area. I have clients in that area, but I haven't really dipped my toe into the pot. And, I am looking for a place to retire to. So it's a consideration. I mean, I'm like, Maryland is really impressive. Is this a good place for business? I think so. Everyone I know living in Maryland is doing hella successful business across the board. And so that's why I asked what I asked. I'm like, is the area, does this really have something
Yeah,
to do
it
with it?
just
And
the right, the sheer area, like again, it's not just one thing, right? It's not just DC or it's not just Maryland or it's not just Virginia, right? It's the trifecta, if that's even a real word, but it's like that triangle piece. Virginia is poised to be a major tech hub. I don't think a lot of people are aware of that. And so we always think San Francisco, right? Now maybe like Salt Lake City, I think Utah, so Chicago, New
right,
York. A lot of
Washington.
these major cities are positioning themselves to be technology hubs. Well, do you know Virginia is one of those kind of areas that rushes
Mm,
across there? If you go to certain areas, you're seeing Google, Amazon, AWS. Like you're literally Microsoft. You're going down and you're seeing all these tech firms and stuff sprouting up over there. I think that's a sign because if you know anything about technology, you know that it's a force and it represents the future. It represents
yeah,
wealth, prosperity, employment, etc. Right? So you see that there. DC, DC is like an island onto itself, right? They have their like own kind of. I think their district, the jurisdiction is kind of. They're like when recessions and stuff happen, they don't happen to DC.
right. They're
Okay, like
like, they are not
they're different.
public.
Right? It doesn't
They're a
touch that
bubble.
area,
They are a
right? The
bubble.
protections, the legalese, right? How litigious they are. So
Right,
yeah, a
because
lot
the
of government
government never
contracts.
stops.
Exactly. Yep. It's ongoing. And then Maryland, I believe, is coming up next. And there's a lot of powerful things in Maryland people may not be aware of. Like it's the a home of Under Armour, which is
Mm, mhm,
akin to like Nike, right? It's one of the most
mhm,
powerful
mhm.
sports brands in the world. Domino Sugar, did you know is
I
Maryland?
didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, you got Pandora offices, so you got some like kind of some hidden gems and some things developing in this area, quiet as kept. But I think like Maryland, Baltimore gets a bad rap because a lot of the crime and stuff. That's what I hear a lot on the streets. Like oh they, it's a lot of crime. But I think you find that in any major metropolitan area. That kind of goes with the territory. If that makes sense.
I'm so
Oh,
excited.
Johns Hopkins too is like
I,
a
I'm,
major
I,
thing in Maryland.
hey, I'm
Yeah.
really thinking about it. And, one of the conversations that I've been having for years with my partners is that you guys don't understand where you are. I mean, maybe they do. Where I am, I'm in New York. I'm in the New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania area, and there are very, let's just say the economic levels are very, very clear. You know what I'm saying? And very pronounced.
Mm,
The low economic echelon is very wide and broad.
mm, mm,
And I have, that's not my experience. I know that it exists everywhere, but it's very prevalent in some of our large cities.
mm.
Even in the Atlanta area, I'm noticing a shift, a difference. I've been in Atlanta for the last few months and I'm kind of going. So it's interesting. So while we're talking about building business and becoming an entrepreneur, I brought this up to say that, you know, we're in a space where we can work from anywhere. However, where, our backyard is where we can really create business in abundance. And so it's important to think about where you're living. And if you do get to choose and you're thinking of making that shift, where will business be great for you? Even when you can work from everywhere, we all have to have a hub. We all have to have that backyard that we can go out into and a community that we can thrive and really connect with and help the people in our community. So, what does that look like? So, that's why I brought up the influence of your community and where you are, uh, based on what your business is and what you're doing. It's definitely something that's very important, I think, to pay attention to.
Yeah,
Um,
and I want to add to that. I think that with uh, society the way it is now, right, that becomes more of a personal preference in this day and age than maybe it ever was before now, because of travel and different things, being easier, right, to maneuver. Now you can really make that decision based on what your personal specific goals and intentions are.
yeah,
um, I think it's super powerful. So like, right, I can yet right work globally or work across the nation, but then find myself right in the specific community that works best right for me and my family and that kind of
yeah,
thing. I think
yeah.
that's amazing to be able to do both like that. You weren't able to do it quite the way that you are today. Um, I guess on the lower rungs of society, I'm sure the ultra rich could always have it do anything, right? And
They've
you could
always
like,
been doing it. Yeah.
but now, right, it's been demonetized to where like you can actually, right, make 7,500, like a decent little income, and right, and still be able to maneuver that landscape.
Pick and choose.
Yeah, you can.
Absolutely.
That's empowering to me, in
It's
my
real,
opinion.
it's super powerful. So guys, the bottom line is you need to own your own business. Okay. If you didn't get that. Right. Do you have your own business yet?
Or businesses.
Or businesses? Well, let's start with one. And I say for those that are in corporate, like that's really, really great. Just know what you're doing. Know what you're doing. Your benefit package. I sit down with so many people that don't have a clue about their corporate benefit package. And you give your 20, 30 years of life to a company and you walk away with half of what you thought you had. So pay attention. Just pay attention. Ask questions. Be present. I don't know. So it's just amazing to me how people can be somewhere for 8 and 10 years and just not have a clue as to what they have. What are your investments? What's your retirement? What does that look like? And it's a whole different ballgame when you go into business for yourself because now you've got to create your own. But what does that do? You know what you're doing. You know what you have. You're learning. You're clear. It's not a story that you don't have all the, you know where your documents are, you know what kind of money you're putting in. I've never asked someone who owns their own business, how much are you putting into your retirement plan? And they say to me, I don't know. That does not happen when you have your own business. So that's all I'm saying is like, let's be present because I think that we forget. And if you have your own business, make sure that you're structuring yourself, right? How important is
Yeah,
that, do you think? Right? Because we
yeah,
can
that's
get
that's a major. Yeah, I deal with a lot of businesses, and I'm telling you, there's a lot of gaps.
a lot of
There's
gaps.
a, and that's I call that job security for us. That means people need what we have. Because right when you start peeling back the layers, typically, right, it's easy to miss something. It's already extremely challenging to operate your own business, um, especially when you put like the other checklist of 100 items you got to put next to that. Like, do I have insurance? Right? Am I investing? I'm talking about medical insurance, errors and emissions insurance, right? Liability insurance. It's like you start going down the list, it's easy to kind of overlook something, or have that oversight. And that's where, like, people like you and me enter in as experts to say, hey, let's do all this.
Let me help you.
Let's look at that and figure that out so we can make sure you're protected. That's a big part of building wealth. It's not a mistake that wealthy people carry and maintain insurance and investments and stuff like that, because it helps build
And
a financial fortress, right,
protecting
around your
technology.
family.
What you're using. I'm sorry, but how many of us are in business and we are using technology that we don't understand, or that is not in our best interest, or is ripping us off?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that, right? I've bumped my head a couple of times. So what I've learned in business is that, because I definitely came from the mindset, and it may be cultural, if I can do it all myself. And it's like, oh my goodness, I wasted so much money. I lost so much money doing it all myself. Right?
Yeah,
I
it's,
lost
it's
a
easy
lot
to
of
do, and right, and like it's a preference thing. Like, I don't discriminate. If we want to learn everything, go for it. But if you want to accelerate, outsource.
I think it's amateur and naive when we do that. I mean, granted, you do need to learn so that you know what you're looking for, but
Right, right, and that
you
right. I
steal
think
over
that, and
time.
that's my approach. Is what you just said. Like, I want to know enough to know I'm not being like screwed over, right, or I'm
Right.
not being taken advantage of. Is maybe a better way to say that, right?
Yeah.
But I don't need to be an expert at what you do. Like, no, I need to be amazing at what I do.
Yeah.
Everything else, I literally try to outsource. Like, I'll pay you to clean, I'll pay you to cook,
Absolutely.
to wash my car. I'm not trying to
Absolutely.
be a mechanic. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be under there
That's so funny
fixing my
that
car.
you say that.
Like,
Yeah.
no. No, I will happily,
Oh my
like, as long as
goodness.
it's in my ability to do, but I'm paying for everything that's not
Thank
what
you. Oh
I
my
get
gosh.
paid for. Because then I
I'm
get
having this
amazing, then
conversation.
my pay will go up, and then I can expand all the more. So
And I
that's the
see
part.
where it comes from though. I'm in elder care with my elder mother who's in her mid 80s, and so I spend a good part of my year with her. And she is just the reminder of how these ideas even came to be. So I'm unlearning a lot of what I was taught, right? We have to unlearn what we've learned,
Yeah,
guys,
absolutely.
especially
That's
now.
definitely true for me
We
in my
have to
situation.
unlearn what we've learned. And I heard her say something about there's a TV that we put out, and she went, well, why don't you? I said, oh, I've got to get somebody to come pick up that it's an old TV. Pick up the TV and take. She said, well, they're going to charge you for that. Why don't we just drag it across? And I looked at her and I went, this woman is not dragging anything anywhere, mom. There are people that do that, and I'm going to call. And I just thought, but there was a time when I would have been like, oh, okay. And so I had to really unlearn some things to
Yeah,
realize, like, no,
you do.
that's not my job. That's not what
Yeah.
I do. There's someone
And
that
then
does
on the
that,
flip
and
side,
I'm
yeah.
going to support their business because this is what they do.
And you know what? You made me think of another thing. Like, with my, like, I'm gonna put my mom out there, which I love to life, but
But
she
they will
has.
remind you now. Come on. Just tell it. They will remind us of what we need to change.
um, but yeah, so one of the things that, like, she does is she, like, works, really hard, with integrity and stuff like that. But she's stuck into that, like, career traditional mentality, like the 9 to 5. I work really hard. I try to get that dollar an hour raise, right? That quarter or whatever. To me, that needs to be unlearned, because the traditional sense did say that you get
Program.
in one job, right, and you stay into it for a lifetime, right? It's a career. But I try to like, enlighten my mom and be like, well, you can get that raise by doing a side hustle. Like you have a specific set of skills, right? Like, my mom is a really excellent sewer. I'm like, you could create a sewing class and teach people how to
Yes.
sew, put it on YouTube or something, charge whatever, $25, and there's your raise.
Oh,
You can do that
please
one
tell her.
time and sit back and collect
Oh,
recurring residual income that will far exceed anything you could do on the job. So that's an
yes.
unlearning of that mentality. Like
Yes.
that mentality is like, oh, I just got to keep working hard into the grindstone. No, all you're doing is making the company wealthy, right? You're
Yeah.
making them rich.
Right.
But what are you doing to make you wealthy and increase your bottom line?
And increase your joy.
And increase your joy and all the
Your
stuff that
joy
goes with it. You got to put yourself in a position where your money is starting to work for you.
for you. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, not the
Right.
other way around. You don't work for
Right.
money, money works for you. And that's a hard thing
It
that a lot of
is.
people have
It
to unlearn.
is.
We got to break that
It is.
cycle, you know.
Right. Your job should be for investment in your business. That's what it is. Your employer is your investor. That's how I tell people all the
Right.
time.
It's your right.
Keep
It's
the
a
job.
stage for you to learn, right? The benefits. That's one thing I love about corporate is the like medical insurance. Like that stuff is typically hard to match, right? Like how do
Yeah.
you match a corporate insurance plan, right? It's very difficult. So there are certain benefits and perks, you know, the camaraderie of being around other people. So there are things I would never, you know,
Sometimes.
right, take for right sometimes depending. Um but if
Yeah.
you want like to right accumulate wealth and really
It's
get
all
yourself
balance.
there.
It's all balance. We got to balance it out. So sometimes, yes. But there are things happening in our space these days, guys, where once again, can you tell that we are very pro corporate? I'm being sarcastic. Um, where we it, it's we it, there's we have the exposure, we have the ability to create all of that ourselves, our own benefit package for for something comparable to whatever is going on now. And I think that because you're not going to have the loss at the end, so it actually will come out to be the same. But yeah, we do have the ability, small businesses, to create our own structure, to create our own systems, to create our own plans, to create our own benefits, especially with masterminds, or what I'm going to call experts, because you are an expert, Andre. What do they say? 10,000 hours or more, right? Makes you an expert.
Yeah, a
So
mastery. Yep.
I think it's important to lean on experts like Andre, of Tailor Made Global, for that, for the information, for the structure, for the guidance, and start. I don't want to call it outsourcing, but just doing business with other folks so that we can do better business, so that we can be more successful, so that we can expand at a greater rate, because you're not working 12 hours a day. And actually, it becomes very, very economical when you work it into your budget, right? Create a line item for this in your budget so that you can hire the experts to help you. Gives you more time to do your prospecting, right? Find your clients, work with your clients, larger accounts. It all makes sense. Would you
Yeah,
say?
there you go. That's what
It
it
makes
does, right? It brings you up, right, to a higher pay scale. And
higher
so again,
standard.
like you might be right 25 an hour now, but right, if you can outsource and move up to 30 to 50
How
to
about
100,
that?
and yeah, you keep
You
up
know what I'm
that
saying?
pathway.
There we
Yeah.
go. We're out of time. I adore you. I'm going to have you come back with your wife. I want to hear the story of how you guys met and all of that. I meant to get into that now, but we got carried away. Guys, it's been a pleasure. We've got Andre Taylor here of Tailor Made Global. Andre, where can they find you? I don't have any of our credentials up. How about that?
Tailor Made Global everywhere. TailorMadeGlobal.com. You can email me, Andre at Tailor Made Global. Twitter, LinkedIn, just Google search us. We out there. I'll
There
see you
you go.
soon.
He's out there. Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure. You've been tuned into Mo Money Mondays here on All About Us Media. We'll be back next week. Thank you so much for joining.